It started with a signal, not a loud one, not a message saying, "We are here." Just a quiet pattern in deep space. Far beyond Earth, a small space station listened to the universe every day. It was built to catch strange sounds from distant stars. Most of the time, it only heard noise. But one night, it heard something different. A repeating signal. Every 12 seconds. Perfect timing. Space is never perfect. Lieutenant Mara Iqbal noticed it first. She watched numbers and wave patterns on her screen for hours. At first, she thought it was broken equipment, but the signal kept repeating, exactly the same. She cleaned the data and turned it into an image. Her breath stopped. The lines on the screen were not random. They were shapes, precise shapes, military formations. She called her commander immediately. Soon, generals and scientists filled the control room. They stared at the screen in silence. The signal showed battle tactics, fleet movements, defensive walls, attack angles, even retreat plans. It looked like a training guide for war. But humanity had never sent it, and no country on Earth knew about it. Then came the worst discovery. Astronomers traced the signal's path. It had been broadcasting for 5,000 years. 5,000. Before modern nations, before advanced weapons, before humans even understood organized war. The signal began when people fought with spears and shields, but it showed advanced space combat formations, as if someone had known what humans would become, or what they would need. Secret meetings began around the world. Governments compared the signal to human history. A pattern appeared. Every major war followed the same structure found in the signal. Advance, test, retreat, adapt, strike, again and again. It was almost like humanity had been following instructions. No one could prove it, but the signal had always been there, watching, teaching, waiting. Then, after 5,000 years, the signal changed. The 12-second pattern stopped. A new one began, faster, sharper, more urgent. New images formed on the screen. This time, they were not defensive. They were invasion formations, large fleets, massive ships, moving together toward a single point, Earth. Suddenly, new coordinates appeared inside the signal. Near Jupiter, telescopes turned toward the giant planet. At first, they saw nothing. Then sensors detected something massive hiding in Jupiter's shadow. A structure, ancient, metallic, not natural. It had been there for centuries, maybe longer, and it was the source of the signal. As military ships moved closer, the structure powered on. It did not attack. It simply sent a new message. 3 words appeared on every screen. Phase 2 begins. At the same moment, deep space radar detected something else. Beyond Pluto, hundreds of objects, moving fast, in perfect formation, the same formation from the signal. For 5,000 years, humanity had been learning war. Now the final lesson was coming. And this time, the enemy was real. The world did not sleep that night. After the message, Phase 2 begins, nothing felt normal anymore. Governments stopped arguing. Militaries stopped competing. For the first time in history, every major power shared information without delay. They created a secret group called Project Inheritance. Its mission was simple: find out who had been teaching humanity for 5,000 years. Lieutenant Mara Iqbal was brought to Earth to join the project. She sat inside a deep underground command center, surrounded by scientists, generals, and historians. They studied the signal again, but this time they looked deeper. Hidden inside the main pattern were layers, smaller signals inside larger ones, like lessons built on top of lessons. It was not just war strategy, it was training. Each time humans fought a war in history, the signal adjusted slightly afterward. After the Roman Wars, small changes. After the World Wars, bigger changes. After modern conflicts, faster updates. The signal was learning from humanity, and then improving the next lesson. It was not controlling humans. It was studying them, guiding them, testing them. One scientist made a chilling discovery. The signal never forced humans to fight. It only appeared during times when humans were already at war. It was as if someone had been whispering ideas into the background of history. Never loud enough to control, just enough to shape. The room fell silent. Why? A young officer asked. No one answered. Meanwhile, near Jupiter, the massive structure continued to glow. It was not shaped like a ship. It looked like a giant ring, thousands of kilometers wide. Ancient metal covered its surface. No visible weapons, no engines, just quiet power. When human ships approached carefully, the structure reacted, but not with violence. Instead, it sent something new. Combat simulations, advanced ones, three-dimensional battle plans far beyond anything humans had created. They were not attack plans against Earth. They were defensive plans against the incoming fleet, the one now crossing the outer edge of the solar system. Back on Earth, Project Inheritance reached a difficult conclusion. The structure near Jupiter was not an invader. It was a teacher, a guardian. It had been placed there long before humans built rockets, watching, waiting for the right moment, and now that moment had come. Mara studied one final decoded message hidden deep inside the latest signal. It was simple. You are ready. Ready for what? Outside, news channels showed rising panic. People saw military fleets moving into space, satellites repositioning, missile systems activating. But they did not know the truth. Humanity had been students for thousands of years. Every war had been a lesson, every conflict a test. And now the teachers had stepped back. The fleet beyond Pluto was moving faster, closer. Project Inheritance understood one thing clearly. The hidden teachers had prepared humanity for something terrible, something powerful enough to destroy worlds, and very soon, humanity would find out if they had learned enough.
The red lines indicate active hostile intent. They've initiated invasion patterns.
But our projections said that was impossible.
The alien fleet did not slow down. Day by day, it moved closer to the inner planets, past Neptune, past Uranus. Its formation never changed. Perfect, cold, silent. Humanity had seen the pattern before. It was the same formation shown in the signal. For 5,000 years, the signal had been teaching this exact battle shape. Now, it was real. Now, it was coming. Inside the underground command center, officers worked without rest. Ships were launched from Earth, Mars, and the Moon. Defense stations powered up. Old rival nations now stood side by side. There was no more competition, only survival. The alien structure near Jupiter remained active, but it did not attack. Instead, it continued sending combat data, defensive formations, weak points, movement timing. It was giving humanity one final lesson, but it would not fight for them. The first clash happened near Saturn. Human warships formed lines exactly as the ancient signal showed. Cruisers in front, missile carriers behind, fast interceptors moving along the sides. Every commander knew their position. Every pilot knew their role. The alien fleet responded instantly. Its ships broke apart and reformed in seconds. Blue energy weapons fired across space. Several human ships were destroyed in the first moments. The command center went silent. But then, something changed. Human forces adapted, just like the signal had taught. Front lines pulled back slightly. Side wings moved inward. Missile volleys were timed in waves instead of one strike. The alien ships hesitated. For the first time, their perfect formation showed weakness. The battle spread across Saturn's rings. Explosions lit the darkness. Metal burned. Ships drifted without power. But humanity did not panic. They followed the pattern. Test. Adjust. Strike. A group of smaller human ships broke formation and targeted the center of the alien triangle. It was a risky move, but it worked. The center ships collapsed, and the formation split in half. The alien fleet began to retreat. Not fully, just enough to regroup. Humanity had survived the first encounter. Cheers filled the command center, but they were quiet cheers. Too many ships were lost. Too many lives. This was not victory. It was proof. Proof that the training had worked. Proof that humanity could fight something not from Earth. Then analysts noticed something disturbing. The alien fleet had used tactics from the same signal. The teachers had not trained only one side. They had prepared both. It was not a simple lesson. It was a test of growth. Which species would adapt faster? Which would think beyond the training? As human ships regrouped, the alien fleet stopped retreating. It began to reorganize again in a new pattern, one that was not in the signal. Inside the command center, tension returned. The enemy had learned. Now the real test was beginning. Humanity had passed the first step, but the war had only just begun. The battle near Saturn changed everything. Humanity now knew the enemy was real, but one question remained. Who were the teachers? Inside Project Inheritance, scientists worked day and night. They studied the alien structure near Jupiter more closely than ever before. This time, they found something hidden deep inside the signal, a message buried under layers of code. It was not a battle plan. It was a record, a history. The message showed images, not clear pictures, but shapes and symbols, a different galaxy, strange stars, a peaceful civilization, the teachers. They were not warriors at first. They were builders, explorers. They lived for knowledge, not war. But then, something attacked them. The same fleet now moving toward Earth, the same triangular formation, the same cold, perfect movements. The teachers fought back. They lost. The record showed broken planets, silent cities, empty space. The teachers had tried to defend their galaxy, but they were not strong enough. They were too peaceful, too slow to adapt. The enemy destroyed them world by world. In their final years, the teachers made a decision. If they could not win, they would create someone who could. They searched the stars for a young species, one that was strong, one that survived hardship, one that learned quickly from conflict. They found Earth. Humans were divided, emotional, sometimes violent, but humans adapted fast. Humans improved under pressure. Humans never gave up. So the teachers built the structure near Jupiter. They placed it in hiding. They began the signal, not to control humanity, not to rule it, but to guide it, to shape its understanding of war slowly, carefully, across thousands of years. The teachers did not create human wars. Humans had always fought. But the signal made humans smarter in battle, more organized, more strategic. Each war became a lesson. Each lesson made humanity stronger. The teachers were not masters. They were survivors trying to prepare the next defenders of the galaxy. Inside the command center, silence filled the room As the final part of the message was translated, it was simple. We failed. A pause. You must not. The truth hit everyone at once. Humanity was not chosen because it was perfect. Humanity was chosen because it struggled, because it fought, because it survived. The teachers had not created a weapon, they had raised a student. Now that student faced the same enemy. Lieutenant Mara looked at the glowing structure near Jupiter. For 5,000 years it had waited, watching, teaching, hoping, but it would not fight. It could not. Its creators were long gone. Humanity stood alone now, but not unprepared. The alien fleet was moving again, stronger, smarter, and closer to Earth. The teachers had given humanity knowledge. Now humanity had to decide something important. Would they only follow the lessons, or would they become something greater? The final exam had begun, and this time, there would be no second chance.
The fleet has reached the Pluto marker. Trajectories confirmed. Impact in 3 mics. All stations, prepare defensive protocols.
The alien fleet did not retreat again. After Saturn, it moved with new purpose. Its ships changed formation. They no longer followed the old triangular pattern. They split into smaller groups. They attacked from different angles. They had learned. Human commanders watched the new movements carefully. The signal near Jupiter still sent battle advice. But something was different now. The new alien tactics were not in the signal. The enemy had moved beyond the lessons. Earth's defense fleet gathered near Mars, hundreds of ships, human ships, built in many nations, now fighting as one. Inside the command center, tension filled the air. Officers studied both the alien fleet and the ancient signal. The signal suggested a classic defensive wall formation. Strong, safe, proven. But Admiral Reyes shook his head. They expect that, he said quietly. The room went silent. For 5,000 years, humanity had followed the lessons. Now the enemy was adapting. If humans only copied the signal, they would lose. The alien fleet attacked first. Energy beams cut through space. Several human ships were hit instantly. Instead of forming the defensive wall, Admiral Reyes gave a new order. Break formation. Gasps filled the control room. The signal had never recommended breaking formation during a full assault. But the Admiral trusted something else. Human instinct, human creativity. Human ships scattered in all directions. To the enemy, it looked like panic, but it was not. Small groups of ships moved unpredictably. Some drew fire, others circled wide. A few even retreated, then suddenly turned back at high speed. The alien fleet hesitated. Their movements were perfect against order. But chaos confused them. Human pilots used quick thinking. They changed speed and direction without warning. They created false targets. They hid behind debris and launched surprise attacks. It was messy. It was risky. It was human. In the center of the battle, a group of small human fighters slipped through a gap in the alien formation. They targeted the command vessel, a larger ship glowing brighter than the others. The alien fleet tried to close ranks, but they were too slow. Missiles struck the command ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship exploded in a flash of blue light. The alien formation collapsed. Ships began to move out of sync. Some retreated. Others drifted without clear direction. Human forces pressed forward. This time, they did not follow the signal. They created new tactics in real time. The alien fleet broke apart. Back near Jupiter, the ancient structure sent one final transmission. The message was short. You have surpassed us. Inside the command center, no one cheered. They understood what it meant. The teachers had given humanity knowledge, but humanity had added something more powerful: imagination, courage, the will to change. The alien fleet retreated toward deep space. The threat was not fully gone, but it was defeated. Humanity had passed the test, not by copying the past, but by creating the future. And in that moment, something became clear. Humanity was no longer the student. From this day forward, if war returned to the stars, humans would be the ones teaching the lesson. The battlefield grew quiet. Broken ships drifted between Mars and the asteroid belt. Small fires burned in space where vessels had once stood strong. Rescue teams moved carefully, searching for survivors. The alien fleet was gone. Not destroyed completely, but defeated. For the first time since the signal changed, there were no new warnings on the screens. Only silence. Near Jupiter, the ancient structure began to power down. Its glowing lights faded slowly. The massive ring that had watched Earth for thousands of years grew darker with every passing minute. Inside Project Inheritance, scientists waited. One last message came through the signal. It was weaker than before, older, as if the structure itself was tired. The message translated slowly across every screen. You have done what we could not. A pause. You have learned. Another pause. You are ready to stand alone. Lieutenant Mara stood quietly in the command center. She watched the image of the structure on the large screen. For 5,000 years, it had guided humanity from the shadows, through wars, through mistakes, through growth. It never asked for thanks. It never asked for control. It only prepared them. Now its purpose was complete. The final part of the message appeared. Do not become what you defeated. The room fell silent. The meaning was clear. The enemy they fought had no emotion, no mercy, only control and destruction. Humanity had won because it was different, because it adapted, because it cared about those it fought beside, because it valued life. The teachers were not warning them about the enemy. They were warning them about themselves. Outside, the alien structure near Jupiter released a soft pulse of light. Then its systems shut down completely. The giant ring broke apart slowly, pieces drifting away into space. It did not explode. It simply ended. Its long watch was over. Days later, the world finally learned the truth. Governments told the story carefully, about the signal, about the teachers, about the invasion. There was fear at first, then pride. Humanity had faced something from beyond the stars and survived. Not because it was perfect, but because it learned. New ships were built, stronger ones, not just for defense, but for exploration. Humanity began looking outward again, not as students, not as prey, but as equals. Lieutenant Mara stood under the night sky weeks later. The stars looked the same as they always had, but everything felt different. Somewhere out there, the defeated fleet was retreating. Somewhere beyond them, other civilizations might exist, watching, waiting. The teachers had once prepared humanity for war. Now, humanity carried that knowledge forward, but they would not use it for conquest. They would use it for protection, for balance, for peace, if possible. The last record of the signal was stored in human history, a reminder that even in war, growth is possible, and that sometimes the greatest lesson is not how to fight, but how to choose what kind of power you become. Humanity looked to the stars, no longer afraid, no longer guided, ready.